So in game one of the Dallas Mavericks Los Angeles Clippers series, we all have to agree that we were in the midst of a captivating series. I don't think I've ever remembered the last time I've seen a second seed face off against a seventh seed and have the games be so close. As a matter of fact, the one thing that it kind of reminds me of is when the Mavericks were in the reverse position, when they faced off against the Baron Davis and Jason Richardson, Matt Barnes, and Steven Jackson led Golden State Warriors, and ended up losing to them despite the Warriors being an 8th seed and the Mavericks being a 1st seed. But unfortunately, some things unfolded that kind of ruined the experience, in my opinion. So what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here, and today I'm going to be uncovering some of the drama that unfolded as a result of the Kristaps Porzingis ejection in game one of the Mavericks versus the Clippers. Now, guys, before we get to the content, please take a moment to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Every like helps this channel grow. You don't even have to subscribe unless if you're sold on my content. Just smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm makes my hard work worth it. On top of that, I am giving away multiple copies of NBA 2K21 on my Twitter and on my Instagram page. You can find links to that in the description down below. And I live stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Now that we got all of that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Guys, we could all agree that there's one element of this year's playoffs that we might not ever get again. Maybe in next year's playoffs, but hopefully not. And it's the fact that for the first time in NBA history, all games are going to be played on neutral ground. There is not going to be any element of home court advantage this year, which kind of makes seeding a little less relevant, although still very relevant as the top seeds play the lesser seeds. But in terms of the lesser seeds having an opportunity to come out of nowhere and upset a team, there's a greater likelihood of that happening. And I admit, as a Laker fan, I am absolutely terrified of the Portland Trail Blazers. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if I saw the Portland Trail Blazers either push the Lakers series to 7 games or even potentially beat the Lakers. I'm not calling them to beat the Lakers, but I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me based off of the circumstances we're given, combining with the fact that the Lakers have shown to be a little bit rusty, and I'm looking at you, Danny Green. But anyways, I digress. During game one of the Los Angeles Clippers series versus the Dallas Mavericks, and a matchup that I thought was really exciting because I don't think the Mavericks are your typical 7th seed. Yes, they're very young, and their core consists of 2 very young players in Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, but Luka is progressing really quickly. He's becoming really good really fast, and we didn't expect him to be this good this quickly. But unfortunately, some things happened that kind of ruined our experience. The first having to be a technical foul that was called on Kristaps Porzingis after he was called for a foul on a relatively clean block. I mean, you guys tell me. I'm going to show you guys the block, and I bet you there's not going to be a single person in my comment section saying that this block isn't absolutely clean. Now, of course, Porzingis got the technical for jawing back at the refs, and I guess we could let that go. But I think the issue was the second technical foul, and I think it was lauded as one of the most unnecessary technical fouls that we have ever seen, and especially in the midst of a playoff game. So during the third quarter, Marcus Morris would wrap his arms around Luka Doncic, and this would drive Porzingis crazy. And as a result, Porzingis would confront Marcus Morris, and it led to some words being exchanged between the two. Now, as a result, Porzingis got ejected for quote-unquote escalating the situation and not trying to calm down the situation. And I would understand if this was the regular season, but this is the first game in a playoff series in a game that I do believe the Mavericks could have potentially won, especially when you consider the fact that the Mavericks would lose 118 to 110 to the Clippers. Lord knows what Porzingis would have done if he was on the floor, especially if they didn't lose by that much without him on the floor. Imagine if they had him on the floor. Now, on the ejection, Porzingis had this to say, saying, "I saw him getting into Luka's face, and I didn't like that." Porzingis would end up having 14 points and 6 rebounds in 20 minutes before his ejection, and would continue on to say, "That's why I reacted. That's a smart thing to do from their part. I've just got to be smarter and control my emotions next time." LeBron James and Dirk Nowitzki weren't big fans of the call, but if you pay attention to the language that Porzingis said after the game, you would notice that he's hinting at a specific thing that kind of drew the ire of the Los Angeles Clippers head coach Doc Rivers. Porzingis would say, "I understand we got into it a little bit, and I saw him getting into Luka's face, and I didn't like it. That's why I reacted. That's a smart thing to do from their part, and I just have to be smarter and control my emotions next time, especially on the first one. I understand the second one, but the first one, even though I felt like it was a clean block and they are probably going to call that tech for throwing my hands every time, I just have to be smart and not let my emotions get the better of me." So he continues on to take this tiny little jab because in the very beginning, it kind of seems as though he was baited into the technical foul. But if you weren't aware that he was just hinting at the technical foul, he continues on by completely saying it, saying outright, "They provoked us. They provoked us, especially me. I should have been smarter. I already had a technical, which I didn't really have in my mind. I hadn't been in that situation, really. That was smart of them to kind of grab Luka and get into his face and get a reaction out of me. They got what they were looking for. Basically, I've just got to learn from this." And look, you guys, to add a little bit of commentary to this before we continue on with the interaction, you have to understand this is where experience plays a factor. Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, Paul George, Patrick Beverley all have been in the league for significantly longer than Porzingis and Luka Doncic, and that's before I even mentioned players like Lou Williams. So this is where experience plays a hand. And yeah, in this instance, I don't know if the Clippers would have won or lost if Porzingis was on the floor, and that does pose a huge what-if scenario. So let me know in the comment section down below, do you think the Mavericks would have won if Porzingis was on the floor in Game 1? But Kristaps would continue on to say that's what they do. Not their main guys, but some of the other guys. That's their job, that's part of their game. And we can't fall into that. We've got to be above that, and that's it. These are the mistakes you almost have to go through to gain that experience and not to commit those mistakes later on in your career. Now, if you pay attention to what Marcus Morris says, he kind of takes a different approach to this because he did think the ejection was unwarranted, believe it or not. Morris said, "I didn't think it was much of nothing, honestly. I think Luka thought that I was being extra physical or something. But if you look at the film, I actually wasn't doing anything. I didn't think it was enough to get technical fouls. I wish that Porzingis played because it's the playoffs, man. Nobody should get thrown out in the playoffs. I know that really hurt their team, and it's not my fault. I didn't think it was that serious." And then Morris would get told about what Porzingis' comments were, and his response was, "It's funny. I was at one of those meetings, and I think someone from the league was saying, 'You coaches, you try to play games with the refs.' And Doc Rivers would say, 'I've never met a coach in my life before the game thinking, okay, this is what I need to do to get under their skin. No, I think we have some guys that are agitators, and I think that's good, but I can guarantee you that wasn't on our game plan. That's just ridiculous. Okay, let's get him thrown out.'" When asked about Porzingis getting thrown out, Rivers had this to say, "I didn't like it actually. If I have a criticism, I didn't think Paul George should have got a tech, and I didn't think Porzingis should have got the first tech. In some games, they do the punch. It was a quick frustration thing. I just think we got to, I don't know how you judge that. If you don't do one, you do the other. I guarantee you they had to give his, because they gave Paul his in the first quarter. I thought those first two techs were connected, and I didn't like either one of them. In the officials' defense, it's tough because they're trying to control the game, the emotions of the game, and I get it, it's a hard job. All I'm thankful for is it's not like the Clippers stole home court or that the Dallas Mavericks lost an opportunity to steal home court. There's still at least 3 more games to be played, and the Mavericks are definitely going to come out a little bit more motivated for the next coming games. Let me know in the comment section down below, what did you think about the referees calling that tech? Do you think it was absolutely unnecessary? Do you think that I don't want to use the R word, but do you think that there's a little bit of a Tim Donaghy situation going on here? I don't mean to insinuate anything, but I do like having an open discussion in the comment section, so let me know what you guys think, and if there's any other news that you need us to cover on this channel, let me know in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.